get my attention, and as an artist, it was the color and the shape of natures and animals. So I've been including a nature and animal in my composition for a long time. But then a long time ago, I mean, at least 7, 8 years ago, I started like really realizing what was like the imprinting of human beings on nature and animal wildlife. Especially, I discover more what is happening in Greenland, Antarctica, and the melting of the glaciers causing the rising of sea levels. And that's something click in my mind because uh, I'm now living in a city that is surrounded by water, as many people, even if you don't really think about it because you are still in a big city. But in one moment, I thought like, that's what we are doing, what we are creating is gonna like affect us. And I found it very stupid that this chain is like ourself destructing the environment and ourselves too. So I wanted to kind of like talk about it, trying to include elements in my design that has a specific meaning on it, even if it's not very visible in the beginning. But there is a story behind that I tells, and that goes with the design, that is meant to highlight some serious issues, environmental issues.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can, should I go off of that? Because I thought maybe it would be worth just showing this time-lapse video that, as Fede was just mentioning, the sort of the nature elements. What you see here is this coming together. It's a time lapse of the whole process, but this story is really about this Newtown Creek, which is a 3.5 mile estuary of the East River that then, connects to the Atlantic Ocean, which connects to the whole world. So, we're really all connected in that way. And we had a couple of really amazing collaborators in this. Our primary partner was the Newtown Creek Alliance, who works as a local sort of science-based organization to try to tackle those local issues. But this creek is the longest running industrial waterway in the United States. It was a site of many kind of oil refineries. Whale blubber oil was refined there. And so it's an incredibly toxic, ecosystem, Superfund site. It was designated a Superfund site several years ago. And so when Fede and I came together, the common understanding was we need to show sort of the damages or where the issues are, but we need to use beauty to compel and bring in, people to appreciate it. So whether or not you already believe and care about these issues, or if really what we're trying to do is attract, local community members and global community members to see the issues that are around us and realize that we're not really talking about climate change. We're talking about community health and societal health. And that has to do with people, planet, people as well as, the plants, the animals, and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And thanks for sharing this time lapse, Stephen. It's really great to be able to see it this way. Going a bit off of what you said about bringing beauty back into this space, I want to ask you, Fede, what do you see as the role of street art in society? Is it to bring beauty? Is it to educate? Is it to raise awareness? In your own words, could you speak on the role of street art?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, like, I think like, as like, for me, as a different path. So when I started it, like, I always see cities as like potential canvas. So walking around, you see like all this great building, and you think like, wow, they need like some beauty on it, like just to improve the urban landscape. And that's how I started. That's what for me was important. That's when I moved to New York City. Living in Williamsburg is more industrial area. I found out like about many space that need that kind of intervention. So I was like just knocking on doors and like, can I paint? And then like the ideas is like about, again, like improvement. Um, but in evolving in the evolution of my personal research, you understand that like more large scale what you do, and more like person like Greenpoint Innovation with Steven, or other entity that I work with, that we are all focused in the same direction. Public art has the power to really spread a message, and is very impactful. So it's definitely unneeded. It definitely helps in opening up, creating conversation. So, or inspiring people also, or new generation, but not only new generation. I always say like we are all here together in this problematic. So for me, is like true beauty, through a nice aesthetic, very vibrant and colorful. I trying to exactly trying to highlight like some problematic without being too much dark. Has to be nice. Has to be people need to enjoy it. It's like part of a, again, like a requalification of a urban landscape too. So as to the design has to give you some nice emotional in terms of visual impact. But then, yes, there is a lot of space to then send a message out there, and that's the idea of, for me, that's what I'm taking like of doing street art.
Yeah, and I was just going to kind of say on top of that, because I see the question that's come in about how does the community react, and the beauty is that we did this mural on a corner of this amazing park that has just been redeveloped, the Hunters Point Park South. So a ton of community members from Long Island City as well as all over the city go there. The ferry terminal stops there, so there's a ton of traffic. But more importantly, it's at a school. And we did a brief kind of webinar, kind of Zoom with the students. We had over 800 students and teachers and parents join in for that. And just, I think the admiration and love that they had for Fede and his talent to be able to do this, that's it. It was really amazing. But then the story and everything else that we're doing with the project around the sustainability approach, that also, is pretty powerful. But yeah, I think the community is really in love with it, and we hear from the teachers and the principals, and they love what's been done there.
And may I add one thing? You also had like all these. I call them like random spectators, because they're just people that are living in the areas, and they are coming from different kind of life, different jobs, and they don't have to be art expert. You are not in a gallery, you are in the street. So any kind of spectator is just a spectator that is living there, living the area. They appreciate it a lot. And it's always interesting doing public art like this. Is always interesting because you get into an interaction with the people in the street that lives in that specific neighborhood. And it's very inspiring, because then you don't only get to know a new person, but new life experience from each other that helps growing as a human being.
And I think it is a source of beauty, and it is a beautiful, the mural you just created is undeniably gorgeous, but it's also, and being on a school just hits at home even more. It's an educational resource. And I learned a lot in our collaboration with Stephen last year on the mural that we did, that was also about biodiversity. And I learned about a lot of species that I had no idea were supposed to exist in New York City. There are oysters and different birds and different aquatic wildlife that I just had no idea was there. So what are you seeing as the impacts information-wise of this mural that you've created?
I can start. Yeah, I mean, and I can try to pull up this image as well, but there's a lot of features, as you said, in this piece that are local elements that people you wouldn't expect. I mean, so many different people, like Fede were saying, they walk up and they go, is that a cormorant or is that a blue heron? And then you have little kids that are guessing, what kind of birds they are. And some were really funny. There was one young girl that asked if it was a flamingo. I was like, oh, okay, we need to, kind of work on that one. But I'll just kind of show this. I mean, this is a near final image, and there are so many elements here. I mean, a lot of thought went into trying to select, the components. But there's sassafras that's coming out from the bottom right, and that is a local kind of species. It's been used widely, as we all know, for kind of furniture and other types of, consumer products, as well as it's also, I think, just like sassafras, it's used as like a component in sodas. And then also you have these smokestacks. So there's sort of like these two different elements, that one's nature, one's industrial. And what's happened in so many of our cities is our ecosystems were maybe traditionally occupied and used and sort of respected by indigenous and traditional communities. And then industry came in, took it over, and that's what's happened with this creek. There's a lot of waste transfer companies, and there's power companies and oil and all this stuff. And not all, industry is needed. We can't get rid of it, but we do have to do what's right to protect that. And so, you have the cormorant in the bottom and the blue heron, and then the gantry, which is really indicative of just sort of industrialization, because that would take produce and things from other places onto, from a rail car, place it onto a boat, and bring it over to Manhattan. And so this is sort of this, showing that nature is trying to reclaim what the industrial part of our societies have taken over. And I think, Fede did an amazing job of integrating these different pieces together in a way that, you can kind of focus in on one, quadrant and get a story, or look at the whole thing and see it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a lot. One thing that I really like about doing public art and large-scale murals is like exactly, except for like all the thing that Steven like very beautiful explained, is also like the structure of the building himself. That as an element, this one is particularly different. Is like this is the design of the building of the school is very interesting, but it suggests me how to play around. I have to figure it out, how to include the top part and the side one nearby the windows. So every time, I always say it's not like a white canvas. It's always always as elements, and it's nice to play with it, to incorporate the structure of the building himself to show that that mural is fitting that building because it's made for it. So it works also with the urban landscape in a way that, to me, the message is even more powerful, because you can understand that it's not something that it just appear. It's just there is like a thinking behind, like compositions and color theme and elements that are all from the surrounding areas. So me and Steven and we walk around. We spend some times in there. We with Newton Creek also, like Lisa explained us like what is going on in this in part of town, like in Long Island City, like what are the we could see the animals, the cormorants, the tricolor heron. So the sassafras and the gantry was there. So there is a lot of elements again that coming from the area where we were as an inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really bringing together so many landscapes and so many different elements, and it's more complex than meets the eye, I believe. So Steven, I want to go to you for a second again. You have been working in the environmental space in various capacities for many years. It's where you've built your career. And then you started doing more artistic work a few years back in 2014 when you founded Greenpoint Innovations. How in that time, in the past 5 to 6 years, have you seen the environmental and the scientific community become more interested in the arts and using art as a tool to spread messages and raise awareness and educate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect question. I think for this moment, we're hitting the fifth anniversary of the Paris Agreement, which for anybody working in climate policy or climate change, or I don't know how you can not know about the Paris Agreement at this point, with especially being in a global, us as global citizens. Climate change has gone from being an issue that here in the United States people were aware of, but it was always doom and gloom. There was never any kind of optimism or sort of thinking about solutions and technology and excitement about, that we can actually do this profitably and sustainably at the same time. And so I think there's been a huge shift. I mean, look, we're now 5 years after the Paris Agreement was signed. We know that nature can be nearly, just over a third of the climate solution. We have hundreds of companies and thousands of companies and hundreds of cities and states and regions signing up to be net zero. The wave of sustainability is here, and so maybe part of what we started to do was just about raising awareness about the issues and trying to talk about solutions at the same time. So we always embed components of how we can get to that better future while the mural is there. So we did for the mural we did with Global Landscapes Forum last year. We did the hybrid electric boat cruise to see that mural from the creek, and that's a really cool way to show, like, yeah, there are hybrid electric boats that are no fuel is being burned when you're on there, and that I think that's the biggest shift. That we're now the solutions are available to us in a much more different way today, and that's a really amazing advancement for us working in climate change.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Fede, what about the flip side of that? How is the global street art community becoming more interested in science and in environmental issues?
But I think, like exactly as Steven says, like climate change is like real, is happening, is we are all facing it. Like it's not something people doesn't know anymore. And the artist is not just street artists, but artists in general always face problematics of their work. Like there are artists focus on politics and other in human rights, and then there are also abstract and conceptual artists, and then like many are like decide to go for like environmental problematics. Is not like that the street art community is all moving in that direction, but I have to say that there are like a lot of artists in all different mediums that are like focused on it, and many different association, non-profit association that are like putting the energy and the force to work also with street artists, because again, like public art as a power to just like show a message, and is well appreciated, is like more and more request for new generation also, like in a terms of like didactic information. I will be painting another school in Italy in 5 months, and for instance, in that case, there is a didactic part of the students to talk about climate change, global warming issues, and have like their idea to share with me, and me will be like creating a murals with some of the input information of the student himself to involve them even more. So this is for me like to open the creative conversation. That's what it means to trying to start helping create awareness, and they'll to find solution that I'm not a scientist. I'm not like like I cannot only do so much in my field, but we can all do a little bit to um, uh, to implement and like to look for like a better sustainable future.
Mm-hmm.
That's what.
And as you said, you're not a scientist, and neither am I, and I'm working in this space as well. How do you educate yourself about the issues that you address through your art?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the start is exactly that, to educate ourselves. That's only like that you can then express your vision or your feeling about it. That's, as an artist, I get impactful from, I watch documentary. I mean, like, we now don't have problem of getting information. And that's how I really got information, and I start getting like very sensible on some thematic, because like we have those information outside, out there, and like nowadays is not hidden anymore. All these problems are real, are there, we're facing it, and it's time to act and find solution. And everybody can have like his own solution based on the field that you are working on. As an artist, mine like is more as my personal information helps me to express myself on some issues. And so that's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
Is how we train ourselves, how we teach ourselves, how we keep informed, and what we decide to do about it.
Mm-hmm. How has this pandemic affected your work as well as the work of street artists generally?
I don't feel like it really affected it. I mean, like, as an artist, like we always produce. We don't stop. We spend many of the time in our studios and working. I had like a different project related with the problematic of COVID, and I did donate my design to raise fundings for hospitals in Italy and all over the world. And I been part of different projects that were trying to tell a story of like how the artist community is like facing that. We are still in it, like it's a terrible moment right now. So I feel lucky enough to be healthy, my family is healthy, and my friends are healthy right now. So, but it's a tragical moment, and I'm not really care about like uh, um, how less visibility I'm getting now from the street art, for instance, because we can't maybe paint in the street, but through social media, we still get attention. It's not really a big difference to me.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, how have you seen the pandemic affect your work, and especially keeping in mind the fact that it was caused primarily through the destruction of ecosystems?
Yeah. I mean, the genesis of these pandemics, and it's something we all need to be kind of more aware of, not just us in the community working in climate and deforestation, but yeah. I mean, this mural was originally intended to be something we did back in April for Earth Day, and then because of the pandemic, we had to put a delay on the project and the concept. So I mean, our whole timeline got completely shifted. This has been hard, but for us, I mean, one of the reasons why we did this artist grant program and award program was because we knew that everybody in the economy is being impacted, but artists, especially those that kind of depended on doing things in public spaces, there was a long stretch where there was enough uncertainty where work just wasn't coming in. And so that's where this sort of awards program kind of originated from. Artists are our lifeblood as Greenpoint. And so we wanted to try to give back, by hosting this Screens to Streets initiative. But yeah, it's been a challenging time, and know that it has for everybody. But what was inspiring, I think, was like Fede was talking about before, the the people that would stop by, there was a big construction going on next door, and these construction workers would come over with their hats, their helmets on, and they have stickers from all over the place. And in the beginning, they were skeptical, looking at what Fede was doing, not really sure if they could get behind it. And then when they started seeing it come to life, they went over to Fede and like, he would hand them one of his stickers, and they would slap it on their helmet. So, it was like a really bonding moment, and showing that, even in the most challenging of times, when we're all kind of not sure of who we can talk to and how close we can get, that, this really was bringing people together, and we all had masks on, of course, and we were being safe. But yeah, challenges and as well as opportunities, I think, with this moment.
Definitely across the board. I want to leave some time for the questions from the audience that are coming in. So I'll just pose one more question before going to those. But Fede, if there's one main message or one main impact that you want to have and get into the heads of viewers through your work, what would that be?
Can you repeat? Sorry.
If you would like to share one main message with viewers through your art, what do you hope to impart upon people through your work?
But like, honestly, I hope like that through my art, I'm already very proud that I'm able to do that. I mean, it takes a long time, a long journey to actually get to a point where finally your expression, your vision is able to actually give some emotion to people, some inspiration. Like, so for me, I'm already grateful that this is happening. And that's what I wanted to keep going doing it, like through my aesthetic, through my composition, colors, and beauty, and also relative like message and thematic. Like, that's what I want to keep doing it. Like, I'm happy. I'm very happy that it's happening. And again, it's because like a long research on myself. So everything start from ourselves, and that's what I wanted to say to people. Like, everything is starting from ourselves. We can change things, but we need to change ourselves first to be able to then change others.
It's a powerful message. Stephen, anything from your end?
Yeah, no, well said, Fede. I think the hope is that if you can create this type of public content in a way that is for as many of the people that would view it as possible. So it's not just for already the converted people that care about climate change or these issues. Then you have the opportunity to maybe change votes, maybe change the way people see their own families and their own environments, and that's at the core of what Fede just said. Changing people to believe in things a little bit differently, or to understand their own impacts a little bit differently, but also that they don't feel helpless in the situation. That there's ways they can be an advocate, they can get involved, they can participate, they can do things. And so we wanted to try to demonstrate some of those things by working with materials for the arts, and they provided us with all the materials we needed. We worked with a paint company, Smog Armor, who provided us with environmentally friendly paint, but also having the connection to the UN SDG Action Campaign and Climate Week NYC. That I think is kind of using the diversity of these different partners, local community groups like Newtown Creek Alliance, just reaching as many different types of people as possible through those respective networks. I think is the way that we can try to get out of a bubble and hopefully grow our community of family and friends that care about these issues.
Which is such an important message, breaking the bubble and really reaching the widest audience possible. And street art is just such a powerful tool for that. So we have a question from an audience member named Larry, who's asking, how supportive is the government regarding street art? And I guess you can speak to this on any level, but I know there is a lot of interaction with local governments on getting permissions and legal permits to do the work that you do. So yeah, how is that going? Either of you can speak.
I'll be quick and just say, you know, in New York City, I've just been wowed by the ability for our local politicians, our assembly people, council people, and even the mayor's office, and sort of their enthusiasm, you know, for this medium as a way of connecting, you know, with constituents and with communities about these issues, and they've been a huge, you know, part of that success. The borough commissioners of both Queens and Brooklyn we've worked with, but also when we did the mural with Jorge Rodriguez Herrada in Madrid back in almost a year ago, I guess it was, for the COP. The community and the city of Madrid, we arrived, you know, 4 weeks ahead of time. We got in touch, and they immediately fell in love with it, and they powered it through. So I think in some places it'd probably be very tough. We've been very lucky, and being able to find you know, local governments that are just, you know, really excited about working with us. So we've been happy about that. But Fede, you may have some other experiences in places you worked and done murals, maybe in Italy or other places. There might be more challenges. And I wonder, I think it looks like Fede might have frozen.
It looks like you could just freeze. Perhaps we'll reconnect in a moment. In the meantime, I'll ask a follow-up question to that. Do you think governments, city governments, are more attracted and more willing to help with projects that are activistic in a way, and that have some kind of message?
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess it's about the approach to it, you know, and we're in a different time now where whether it's, you know, social justice or environmental justice, whatever the issue is that we're kind of dealing with, nobody can really hide from these anymore. I mean, whether you're, you know, an individual watching the news, or you're, you know, a government official or a business person, you have no choice. So I think it's more this reality now that we're seeing the embracing of folks working to try to address the challenges, and I think that's just really cool. You know, we're able to engage now, and it's not as much of an uphill battle, you know, to kind of get people to listen. Yeah.
It looks like we lost Fede momentarily, but we're working on inviting him back in. So hopefully he'll be able to hop back in soon. Always some technical difficulties here. Yeah. So another audience member was asking, and I guess this one can be posed to you as well, Stephen, about an ideal audience and who do you really want to be seeing these murals? And they're a dream audience in a way, people that you really want to reach.
Yeah.
Hi, Faye. We've got you back.
My computer just like disconnected for a second. I don't know what happened.
That's quite all right.
All good. Well, I'll repeat the question as I briefly respond, and Fede jump in. But the ideal audience and sort of the viewer of this is really, I guess, anybody. I mean, I don't know if there's one. We're not really doing this for one audience member, but what we are doing it for is for people who, there's sort of two sides of that equation, as I said before, and it's like the dark green, already converted environmental people. It's a growing percentage, thankfully, but so you're kind of reaching them and hoping, like, kind of embracing them and that love of caring for the environment. But then it's also for the people who may not really understand their connection to it, may not really get that cleaning up this estuary of Newtown Creek could benefit the health, you know, of their kids by having less air pollutants, you know, in their lungs as they're, you know, walking to school. And so I think that's where we can try to find some common ground between those two different, you know, types of people, because genuinely, I think people, you know, will do what's right, as long as they know it's not impacting them in a negative way, and that you're kind of showing them the pathway, to the better future. So, but maybe Fede, you have maybe there's a target audience for you that's unique.
No, not at all. Exactly as you said, like public art is for the public. Is the public is like the general public. Is like, to me, is every person that stopped by and doesn't have like any clue on art. Maybe doesn't have any clue on environmental issues. Maybe doesn't have any clue, and that's like good. But like there are also many person that knows about it, that you end up like opening conversation with any kind of person, and that's the beauty of it, like to be able to at least open a conversation. So I don't have like a target person. To me, like is everybody is has to be involved in it. Like for any kind of generation, we 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 hope a lot for the new generation. They will be like the futures, yes, definitely. But there are many of our generation and the older generation that needs to be kind of guided still, because they made on no, they are not focusing their ideas on some problematics. And so I think like a messenger for everybody, and that's the publics, that's the people that we need to reach, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, the equitability of it is one of the most incredible parts of street art. We have a question in the chat that's quite specific, coming from Dennis del Castillo Torres, who lives in the Peruvian Amazon and is wondering how to bring this landscape, this ecosystem, into the mind of New Yorkers. So I'm not sure if he means the Amazon as a whole, or particularly the Peruvian Amazon, which we hear about in the media far less than the Brazilian Amazon. So I guess we can broaden that question a bit. And how do we bring, or how do artists bring issues that aren't immediate and aren't located right where the art is located into that area? So how do you take an issue happening somewhere else in the world and transplant it to a particular urban environment?
Go ahead, Fede.
Well, from my point of view, is like the needed and the want to talk about an issues. That's how you bring it, because like in fact I've been talking a lot about the rising of seawater for the melting of the glaciers, and that's our murals that are in New York or are in Italy or are somewhere else in the world, so are not actually there. I'm not. So you bring the issues from another place and you show it in like in a different content, and as well like as other problematic is about like to really the needed, and if you want to talk about those issues, and if there is somebody interested in like in again like having like a conversation and says like, hey, this is a problematic that really affect us like more than what you can see on the media even, like let's talk about it. What's your opinion? What's the problematic is, like what can be the solution? And then like creating an idea that is based specific on that problematic. That can be an example, for instance.
Yeah, and we, this was sort of an interesting mural, similar to the one we did last year with Global Landscapes, but we're kind of in a local setting, talking about a local context. But a lot of the murals that we've produced and worked with artists on have been really trying to do exactly that. And so in fact, for the Peruvian Amazon specifically, the murals we did with Gerardo in Madrid last year, he painted an indigenous woman leader, Hilda Perez, and on one side of this building, a community center, and then on the other side did the climate change, icon eye for the UN SDGs in his own kind of artistic interpretation, calling it Forest Focus. And the focus is on the Brazilian Amazon in the eye, the pupil of the eye. But a lot of the other murals we've done have been, we did a mural about a Brazilian indigenous tribe, the Awanawa, and it is it is different. It's a whole different way of telling a story by, planting an indigenous leader in a different community where they never would be known otherwise. And so I think that is an exciting opportunity in certain contexts, but for this project in particular, this land was Lenape and Maspeth, Native American land. It was hunting and gathering land, and before the Dutch settlers came in. So there is that history there too. About kind of these leaders of defending the planet. That there's an essence of them in this project also.
Mm-hmm. So I've kept you gentlemen for almost an hour, but I'd like to end on one more question that's a positive note to end on. What's your dream project? And I'll put that towards both of you. What's the project you would love to create if you had all the resources available to you? And what would its message be?
Well, that might be a secret. I don't know if that's a secret. No, it's not a secret for us. I mean, I don't know if there is a dream project, because every single project has been beyond expectations. I think Fede he's wowed everybody, with this and what he was able to do, with this massive wall and a very difficult context of dealing with, the bureaucracy of the city, New York City schools, and all the different partners and different opinions, and so every time we do one, it becomes a different dream project. And maybe that's the same for you, Fede. They're all different and they all hold different value.
Definitely, but also the person that you work with, like like for myself, like working with entity like Greenpoint Innovation, but Steven became like also a very good friend of mine. We became very good friends, but like the fact is, you are like teaming up with a person that are the same believer of you. That's, to me, is already a dream project. When you really team up with people, they are teaming up with other people, and we are stronger together. So that's it. Like that's the next one. If it will be like that, it will be another dream project. And the mission, of course, the difficulties of the building we painted. It was like it is a beautiful building, very difficult to figure out what to do on it, but that's the challenge also. And the challenge is also the dream project, I think. We need to keep challenging ourselves to do better.
Yeah.
And that,
I agree with that fully. Yeah. I mean, I think when you have that bond, and that, it obviously grows over the course of the project, that it shows through, in the end result. And just, I think everybody sees that and feels that. And yeah, it was a powerful, challenging, but incredible experience working on this one.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, I can feel it through the screen now as well. It's really beautiful to see the love that's gone into this project. So Steven, Fede, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a joy to talk to you both, and to talk to you both together, and to get to witness everything that went into this mural, and really just this incredible work that's happening for using street art to change the world for the better. So thank you both so much for all that you do. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for spending the time with us. It's been a great conversation. This was our last GLF Live of the year, so we will see you again in 2021. Hopefully it will be a very different year than this one. Wishing everyone all the best until then. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, pleasure, Gabrielle. And thank you to the GLF team. All the best.
Always. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Sounds good. Bye.